The strongest army in the world can take a hit that it may never recover from. More dangerous than an aircraft carrier is the weapon that can sink it deep into the sea. One sentence, cold, direct, and aimed straight at America's soft underbelly. Not a base, not a jet, but a symbol. The aircraft carrier. And in a week when the entire region feels like a match hovering over gasoline, that sentence doesn't sound like routine rhetoric. It sounds like a deliberate attempt to open a door to fear, a door to doubt, a door to the idea that the most powerful thing in the world might not be untouchable. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your ground report. Underground reporting, fast, clear, and calm. No slogans, no noise, just the facts, the context, and one question that holds the whole story together. And tonight, that question is simple. Can Iran really sink an American aircraft carrier? Or is Iran trying to achieve something else entirely? Because while that threat is being said out loud, the ground is moving. Today, 2 additional United States military refueling aircrafts landed at the Ben Gurion International Airport in Israel. Together with the ones that landed yesterday, that makes 4 already. That's not decoration. That's operational breathing room. That's range. That's endurance. The ability to stay in the air longer, go deeper, and keep going without stopping. When refueling aircraft start showing up, it means someone wants the option to operate far, long, and continuously. At the same time, Iran is broadcasting images from its southern coastline. Missiles and drone launches in coastal areas. Amphibious boats coming ashore. Footage designed to look like one clear message. We are ready, especially in the sea. And inside the imagery, Iranian media describes a Revolutionary Guards drill and talks about modern combat technologies, advanced tactics, and a new missile system, different ranges, high accuracy, and an improved warhead. This is a performance, a planned performance, because when you want to threaten an aircraft carrier, you don't start with a speech. You start with a picture, a coast, water, a launch, a moving frame that tells the audience, we are here, we are watching, and then comes Khamenei's sentence, sink an aircraft carrier. It sounds like the end of a movie, but this is exactly where we have to stop and bring this story back down to earth, because an aircraft carrier is not a ship. An aircraft carrier is a floating wall city, a massive airbase moving on water, a factory of sorties, of intelligence, of presence. And it almost never comes alone. It comes as part of a larger system all around it. If you've never seen an aircraft carrier at night, you don't understand the scale. At first, it looks like city lights on the horizon. One light, then another, and then your eyes adjust and you realize this is not a shoreline. This is something enormous, metallic, moving, runways of lights, neighborhoods of lights. Quiet from the outside, but alive from within. So when someone says, I will sink it, they're not only talking about steel and water, they're talking about that picture. They're trying to crack the aura, to plant the thought that the floating city can be dragged into the depths of the ocean. But the real question, and we have to say this out loud without games, is not only can it be sunk, the real question is, what counts as victory for Iran? Because there is a massive difference between sinking and creating an incident. Sinking an American aircraft carrier is a world-defining moment. It is the kind of moment that forces an enormous response, a moment that locks both sides into escalation. And that's why, in any case, a strategic actor doesn't need to reach that point. They don't need the Hollywood ending. They need a different kind of moment. A moment that photographs well, a moment that shifts deployment, a moment that shakes the market, a moment that spreads fear. Is where the tone of the last week changes. A potential deal with China. Iran is moving towards a deal to purchase Chinese anti-ship cruise missiles model CM-302. Range is up to 290 kilometers. The warhead is 250 kilograms. High speed and low altitude flights. Traits that can make interception more challenging. And it's designed to be launched from multiple platforms, from ships, from aircrafts, or from vehicles. China boasts about this missile and claims it is the best in the world against ships, claiming it could sink destroyers and also aircraft carriers. That is a Chinese claim, and it is meant to create deterrence long before any shot is fired. But there is also a detail that pulls the drama back into reality. There is no agreed delivery date. It is not clear how many missiles will be transferred. And these missiles will not reach Iran before a possible American strike if one happens. So, no, this is not tomorrow morning on the beach, but it is a message right now. And that message works in several directions at the same time. It works inward towards Iran's public. We are getting stronger. We are upgrading. It works outward towards the neighbors in the Gulf. The sea that you live beside can become a different arena. And it works towards the United States. Time may not be on your side. And a professional voice inside this story frames why this matters. Dani Sitronovich, the former head of the Iran desk in Israeli military intelligence research, and now a senior researcher on Iran, says that this could be a completely different game changer. If Iran gains an advanced anti-ship strike capability in the region, adding that these missiles would be very difficult to intercept. Notice what that means. Not sinking is guaranteed. Not the carrier is helpless. It means that the threat level rises in an arena where a single incident can move the world. And when we say arena, we have to say the word that everything converges on. The Strait of Hormuz, a maritime choke point, a place where dense traffic can turn a small incident into a global shock, a place where fear sometimes has more power than damage, because fear drives up the maritime insurance, fear pressures the governments, fear shifts the prices, fear creates headlines that create decisions. And this is the trick behind threatening an aircraft carrier. A carrier is not only a weapon, it is a symbol. And when you threaten a symbol, you don't always need to hit it to achieve results. Sometimes it's enough to make the world believe that it can be hit. Now, layer this with something else that's happening at the same time inside Iran itself. Students are protesting, and they are continuing for a fourth straight day just in this week. They are not massive demonstrations, but their very existence, 1 month after a brutal crackdown on a major wave of protests, says one thing: frustration is still alive under the surface. That frustration is fueled by a continuing economic crisis and by anger after the previous crackdown. The numbers that are circulating are heavy, and they are not consistent. Human rights groups have verified around 7,000 deaths. There are estimates that the real number is much higher, and Trump himself has given a much higher estimate, 32,000 unalived. That gap is enormous. It's not a minor discrepancy. It's a fog. And it's also the point where information warfare becomes obvious. Numbers becomes weapons, not only measurements. Protests were reported at multiple universities in Tehran. A channel identified with the opposition voices claimed that protesters chanted Khamenei is a murderer at the University of Tehran, and reports like that demand caution from the Iranian Revolutionary Guards. And at another university, a different slogan was heard. This is the final battle. Pahlavi will return. A message openly pointing to a regime change. And beneath those chants, there are reports of confrontations. Footage from campuses show clashes between groups of young people, and reports claim that Basij militia, volunteers in civilian clothing operating under the Revolutionary Guards, attacked the students. There are also reports of tear gas that's used against the protesters at another Tehran campus. Then comes the regime's response. In a familiar language of a government that feels it is losing control, Iran's government spokesperson, Fatemeh Mukherjee, says that students have the right to protest, but there are red lines. Sacred places and flags are red lines, not to be crossed. And she adds, the correct path is dialogue and rationality, not anger and aggression. Meaning, shout, but don't touch what holds the regime together. And that is exactly why the regimes under internal pressure often point outwards. They want an external enemy. And when you want an external enemy, there is no stronger symbol than an American aircraft carrier. Now, place this next to the American message. The White House spokesperson, Caroline Leavitt, says that diplomacy is always Trump's first option, but he is ready to use the lethal weapons of the United States military if and when needed. That warning builds a bridge between two realities. We talk, and we are ready. And then, back to the sea, Iran shows coastal drills. Iran talks about Chinese missile deals. Iran threatens carrier. America brings refueling aircrafts and keeps its language positioned between diplomacy and force. And here is the turning point of this episode, because it's easy to get trapped in one question. Can they sink it? But the most dangerous part of weeks like this is not only capability. The most dangerous part is the chain of decisions under pressure. Escalation doesn't always begin because someone is sure that they will win. It begins because a small incident happens, and within minutes, both sides feel that they must respond because they cannot afford to look weak on camera. A response triggers a response, then another, and suddenly it's hard to stop because nobody wants to be the one who blinked. In a maritime arena, an incident doesn't have to look like a Hollywood disaster. An incident can be anything that contains three ingredients: casualties, symbolism, and loss of control. Casualties create political pressure. Symbolism turns an image into a demand for retaliation. Loss of control creates the fear that if you do not respond now, you lose deterrence tomorrow. This is what many people miss when they hear the word sink. Iran doesn't need to win a fair fight. Iran wants America to pay a price that America doesn't want to pay. A price of fear, a price of shifting deployment, a price of a shaking market, a price of public opinion. And before we continue, one quick call to action, the way we do it here. And if you want more ground reports like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, and help us share this truth with more people around the world. So, what do you think is more dangerous? Really, an actual sinking or an incident that breaks the aura without sinking anything at all? That's a good question. I'm curious to hear what you have to say. And over the past few years, so many of you have asked us the same question: how can I experience the Holy Land if I cannot travel there? How can I visit the places where Jesus walked? And the reality is, most Christians will never get the chance to travel to Israel. Some will, and it's amazing, it will change your life. And those who have, they always want to come back. So especially right now, with everything that's happening in this region, with the war, with Iran, tourism being down for more than 2 years now, many people feel disconnected from the land of the Bible. And that's why we want to share something that we genuinely love and personally recommend. It's called Arza Box. We know the people behind it, we've seen the work that they're doing here on the ground, and what they've created is something truly special. Arza creates beautifully curated seasonal gift boxes filled with handcrafted products, spices, home goods, artisan creations, all made by Israeli families and small businesses. And every box is themed around a biblical location. And they've just launched their newest release, the Jordan River Box. It's incredible. It's designed to help you experience your faith in a tangible, immersive, beautiful way, to bring the Holy Land into your home, not just to read about it, but truly to experience it with your family. And here's what makes it even more meaningful. When you receive this box, you're directly supporting and blessing Israeli artisans and small businesses during a time when they need it most. So you're deepening your faith and blessing the land of Israel and its people at the same time. We know the team, we know the impact, and we know that these seasonal boxes are limited. So if you want one, go to for an extra 15% off of your subscription. So, where did we reach? When we step back and look at the full picture between Iran and the threats of sinking an aircraft carrier, on one side, Iran is projecting a coastal posture, launches, drones, amphibious movements, and claims about a new missile system. On another side, there is talk of a China deal, anti-ship missiles, range, warhead, speed, low-altitude flight, and the argument that this kind of weapon could be challenging to stop. And at the same time, Iran is dealing with internal pressure, protests, clashes, besieged involvement, red lines, and a reported death sentence. And at the same time of all of this, the United States is signaling a logistical capabilities, while messaging that keeps all options open, including diplomacy. And there is a bottom line. Without slogans, to actually sink an American aircraft carrier is an extremely difficult goal, and the likelihood is very low. Not because it's magic, not because it's impossible, but because it is a massive platform that's protected with multiple layers, operating as part of a water system designed to reduce surprise. But to create a serious maritime incident, to cause damage, to force a temporary disruption, to shift deployment, to make the world talk about the floating city as something that can be touched, that is a more achievable goal. And if Iran is good at anything, it is turning fear into a political tool. So, when Khamenei says sink, we also have to hear what he's not saying. He's not saying tomorrow, he's not saying how many, he's not saying how. He's saying something more basic. Your symbol is not untouchable. And in a week when the Strait of Hormuz hangs over the headlines, when one incident can ripple through markets and decisions, that sentence alone can achieve one major objective: it injects doubt. And if you want to help us keep bringing you these reports, ground reports from Israel, from this region, make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss another episode. And now we want to end with two sentences. One is that an aircraft carrier is a floating war city. And this threat is an attempt to crack the aura before anyone cracks the metal. It's a threat. It's a psychological warfare. And the question for the next episode is this: will Tehran stay in the stage of words and images, or will it try to create an incident, an attack that pushes everyone one step too far? Let's end this with a short prayer, because this whole situation involving Israel, involving the United States, involving Iran, is a spiritual war. A spiritual war against all of us, each and every one of us. But more than that, it's a war between good and evil. And we need to pray. We need to pray that God's will be done. We need to pray that He will give wisdom to all the leaders, the military leaders, the political leaders, the teams of diplomats that are trying to solve this issue. We need to pray for our forces that are deployed in this region, close to Iran, close to Israel, in Israel. We need to pray for them to be safe. We need to pray for their family members that are waiting for them back at home. Let's pray for God to give peace to each and every one of these people here. And let's pray for His will to be done. Let's pray for the peace of Jerusalem.